Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Good evening.
Welcome to the Economic Development Committee meeting, December 16th. I'm just checking to see if a couple more folks might join. Okay, 508-353-0563. Can you unmute and tell me your name, please? All right, that'll be our mystery guest.
Lorraine, it's John.
Hi, John.
Yeah,
Okay, so I have, so far I can tell who's on, John, Eva, Heather Harding, Dan Krantz, Tom Murphy, Barney Overett, Catherine Rollins. I think there's two other folks on. I just can't tell from your phone numbers who you are. If you could unmute and,
Leah's here.
hi, Leah.
Hello.
Paige, I'm here,
Yep, I got you, Paige. Sorry.
but I'm not a member, so.
Yeah, you kind of are. Okay. All right. Well, why don't we get started? First item we have is our meeting minutes from November 18th. Does anyone have any changes, edits they wanted to suggest?
No?
Nope. Okay, can I have
All
a
good.
Oh, all good.
Yep.
motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I take it no one's opposed, we're all set? All right, good. All right, next item is our subcommittee update, action items. I want to start off with the rail trail pedestrian transit update. Hey, Dan?
I think Tom or Catherine, you want to fly with that?
Yeah, I can start, and then Catherine or Dan, you can fill in my blanks if you'd like. So since the last meeting, we've had some contact with the Blackstone Valley group who did the bike path through Rhode Island into Worcester, just to get some ideas and what they went through to get to where they are. So having some contact with them, and then that's gone well. We've got some decent information from them that we can research and look into. Gives us a little bit of what we need to do going forward. And then Dan was able to set up a meeting. We had a subcommittee today with VHB, and through that meeting, we just talked about what we were looking for, what they could possibly do for us, and as far as the grant that's out there that we're looking to do, which I think, what was the date, February 2nd or 3rd, which was the date that has to be in. So we kind of discussed what we were looking for as far as the grant requirements, the feasibility study, any planning and development in whatever concept we were looking for. Originally, not originally, but in this meeting today in the subcommittee, we were talking about, from Foxborough to Framingham, but we kind of narrowed it down to let's, start with Foxborough. Foxborough is a good place to start with. We have some good destination points within Foxborough, but to let the other communities know along the route that, this is what we're doing, and if they were interested, just to let them know this is happening with us, and maybe, that would go a little further. We also talked a little bit about, by starting small and getting some backing and people seeing what's going on, it might be a better way to get more people behind the action of actually, doing this and backing it. So the grant's due February 2nd. So we asked the group, which was, Christine Wickham Zimmerman, Tracy Lanhart, I guess, who would be actually the one writing the grant, and then Bill DeSantis. So these guys were on board, and they have a lot of experience, not only with bike trails in Massachusetts, but a couple of them were heavily involved in this Blackstone River bike path as well. So they know a lot of what's going on and what needs to be done. So they'll be helping us out here. We talked a little bit about doing the grant and whatever is needed for the grant. Tracy's gonna go through it, and then she'll send us any kind of checklist that needs from the subcommittee, anything that we need as far as if we have existing plans or any information that she doesn't have. We said that we would get her through either our own means or other ways, just to get the grant done and completed by the 2nd of February. We also learned the grant match for the town would be a 20% match. And I'm just looking at some of the other notes here. The other thing too is we talked about, we need to get on board, and we have to get with the T and MassDOT, right away, start talking about the study there, the opportunities, the potential issues. The MBTA has some strict guidelines for paths and bike paths and things along the railway. So we need to work with them as far as, how we're going to do this. And then we have areas where there's, there's less land, there's some water, there's some issues with that. So there's a few things we got to look at, but it was a good start with VHB today. And they're willing to help us out and get us going. So I don't know.
How much is the grant for, Tom?
It's, do we have a number? I think it's, once we have everything laid out, it'll be a certain amount. I don't think there's a number right now. It's whatever we ask for, that, that's right, Paige, is that we're going for, is that how it works for this? You're on mute.
Exactly. We don't yet know. We'll know more when VHB scopes this out for us. This, just to be clear, this first grant application would just be to get some minor funding for a feasibility study. So like, obviously we can't go straight from, oh, this is a good idea to suddenly constructing something. We need to look at whether it makes sense, whether it can be done. So this would be to get funding for a feasibility study. So we haven't talked numbers yet. We're still just sort of doing our due diligence and pulling things together. I think mid-January is when things will come together.
Thanks.
Did I cover everything, you guys?
No, I think that was a very good summary. Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
Tom, do you have the MBTA rules about the path?
I think we do, right? Dan, we can share those, right?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, just try and get a jump start for you guys on the path that would run down the back of our property.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there is some concerns about proximity, and I think that's a hurdle we need to start to talk through the MBTA with, because legitimately there's a concern, of an ice chunk on a train moving at speed that could potentially fall off, and how do you deal with that? So it's a distance thing. So that's what in the coming weeks we'll be working with the MBTA on. And at the end of the day, because it's MassDOT owned property and MBTA operated, we're going to need to get their consent that this is a viable idea.
Are we going for a single path one side of the track? And if so, do we know which side of the track?
I think that's part of the answer is yes, probably, because the right-of-way isn't extensive. I don't know until we get through that mid-January discussion with VHB that we know which side of the track and where it goes exactly, but that's some of the research they're going to be doing in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I'm assuming, Dan, that we don't want people crossing the tracks. So one side and run the full length. Is that appropriate?
I think that is absolutely appropriate.
Right. Okay.
Any other questions? Great, thanks very much. Next item is the Route 1 Subcommittee. Any update from that group?
Having not spoken with Mike and Mike in the last couple of weeks, I would say we do not currently have an update for Route 1, no.
Okay, thanks, Dan. John Gray couldn't make it tonight, so for business development, he sent us a note that he'd been in touch with the Secretary of State, the corporate department, and he's waiting for the operator of that database to decide if they can do the search for him. He said there might be some cost associated with that he'd find out about shortly. He mentioned the rollout of the vaccine. You know, Massachusetts has laid out their plan, but I did reach out to Mark Craig and talked with him about just information in general, any planning that's, you know, for the community. And at the time when we spoke, he said it's at the early stages, but that he would keep us in mind when they're ready to provide any kind of information like that so that we could have that available as part of information that could be, you know, on our website too. I still have to reach out to Tom Kenvin from the fire department to see if there's any more information I can get from him related to EMS participation in that, any efforts for that also. I can just tell you up at UMass, they just started rolling out the vaccines today. And I'm sure as you've seen on the state plan, it's, you know, all different categories of who's going to be in line for it when. So their hope is that the state could have enough availability by April to cover anyone interested in having the vaccines. Plus, there are other vaccines that are about to be approved probably in the first quarter of next year. So there might be more options with less intense storage requirements also that could help get it out faster. So that's info coming from the medical center up there. So that's about all we have on Route 1, not on Route 1, business development. Still getting used to wearing reading glasses. They're not working for me. Okay, next one, website content. Any update from that group?
Paige, do you want to do that or do you want me to?
I don't really think we have an update, do we?
No, not really. We're just kind of plugging away. I'm trying to find posts for the Uptown Happenings page that will drive people to our Choose Foxborough website. So if anybody has any witty ideas for posts, pass them along that would, you know, include the link to get people to go. That's about it, I think.
I think our big update, actually, Heather, we should be proud, is that one of the problems with our website was when we did push people to it last month for the housing plan, they got a malicious content message. So I'm happy to report that we worked with IT and we got that taken care of. So now if people go back to the EDC website, they should not get the malicious content message, which wasn't really going to happen, but you know, we explained to IT the problem is people thought it was. So apparently it wasn't really a problem, but it looked like a problem. So the good news is we got it fixed, and so now we can push people there without them fearing that they're going to have something bad happen to their computer.
Heather, how is the shop local promotion going?
Oh, it went really well. Leah was gonna cover that under Uptown. You want to do that, Leah?
No, I can wait.
Well, we got much else, so you might as well.
It was the end anyway. So the shop local promo is over. I have seen a couple entries still trickle in, which is great. If people want to post pictures of them supporting or eating at, you know, uptown businesses or any business in town really. But I think it was a success. We get excited about the billboard, right? Paige and Heather. So that was really great. I think that was Mike Stanton's billboard too, that went up on. So it was nice to drive by on the way to Trader Joe's and see, you know, that same window decal that you may see in the businesses as you go around town up on the billboard. So I think we'll come up with something else for the spring. Maybe this group can kind of help brainstorm between now and then. If you see something around that you think is a good idea, you know, just keep it in mind. So that's pretty much it for the shop local. Other updates as far as Foxborough Common Business Collaborative, you may notice that the JC's banners are up when you drive around the common. They're red and white. Once those come down for the holidays, the Foxborough Common Business Collaborative banners will go up. So they're all sold out. I forget exactly where we landed, but there's 20 something businesses that sponsored banners. And then I don't know.
28, I think, right, Paige? 28?
Yeah, and then there were 3 or 4 like welcome to Foxborough Common to create like a sense of place. And in my opinion, they kind of match and vibe with the wayfinding that's coming. So hopefully people get used to that look that they see when they head uptown. And then the last piece, Schneider came to the selectmen's meeting last night and presented that $150,000 check. Some of you guys may have seen people kind of grumbling about the decor on the common versus places like Mansfield. But the simple fact is we don't have the electrical to support, you know, I think what people want to see. So with the support of Schneider Electric and Chris Gallagher and his group, I think we're going to be well underway soon to get those lights, to get that electrical so we can have the lights. So next year is going to be bigger and better. I think, you know, it'll sneak up fast on us, although it's a year away. So I'm sure we can do some fun things next holiday season with some lights, and, you know, maybe even it will impact the farmer's market or other things that we weren't able to do before because we didn't have the electrical that now we can do.
That's awesome.
That's great, really.
And the next Foxborough Common Business Collaborative meeting, it's the first Wednesday of the month. So I think that's what, the 6th. So if anyone watching wants to join, always welcome at 7:30 a.m. via Google Meet. I think that's it.
Great. Thanks, Leah. All right. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is the grant updates. Paige?
Sure. So today I filed for the rapid recovery grant. I might have mentioned that, and I did a little brainstorming on trying to come up with it. This is really something. This is the grant program that is not doesn't provide money, but it provides technical services and a plan. So it's not for implementation, but it's supposed to help. It's a long-range rapid recovery plan, and that doesn't make sense. But anyway, it's supposed to be rapid, but build into long range. So anyway, we kicked around a few ideas, and ultimately the goal was to try to see if we could focus on uptown parking. And while it's a bit of a stretch, I'll be honest, to completely tie it to COVID recovery, I have had a few comments about the Central Street parking lot uptown, and we certainly know that we're looking at the crosswalks uptown. So we know that one of the sort of principles of COVID recovery has been to draw more people outside and to draw them to different, not events, because you're not allowed to have events, but to make regular habits of being outside. And so folks, the uptown people and the downtown people on webinars have really been recommending things. So one of the concerns with that is obviously the perception of parking. And as we come out of COVID recovery, we also have had the age-old question of, does Uptown Foxborough have enough parking with the exciting things that are coming uptown to sort of keep the sidewalks from rolling up at 3 p.m. And so anyway, the long story short is we submitted an application today to sort of see if they will work with us to try to make Uptown more competitive, and by doing that to try to look at the parking and to also create to look at what the market conditions would be to sort of give confidence, because as you know, we had a couple projects approved for Uptown and they're on pause because of COVID. So kind of understanding the market forces and what would help bring that back. So it's a little fluffy. I have to admit the grant itself seems a little fluffy, and what you get out of it is a plan. But you know what? It's something the state is offering through the planning program and through the downtown initiative. And so I didn't want to miss an opportunity. So I threw it in there. We also I've been working with Chris Gallagher and Lance Del Peoria, the town engineer, and we're working on a shared streets application. That's for construction. That's actually for actual improvements. They give you a consultant to work up your program for submission, and we're doing that now with a company called Kittleson, and so they're helping us look at, we called them just about crosswalks, but now we're kind of looking at the overall pedestrian safety, maybe tying into the future rail trail if there is one, just trying to look at the big picture. The bikers from the state forest that, they might want to come uptown, different things. We're looking at funding there, but the ultimate goal at that one is to try to get assistance with the crosswalk situation. I believe there are 13 crosswalks uptown. We were looking at for actually funding for the solar blinking lights, but we also it's been pointed out that you can't just throw up blinking lights at every crosswalk or a bunch of them uptown, because then people don't notice them. So it really is a holistic process we need to follow. So that grant is due later in January, and we're pulling that together. And like I said, that's actually for implementation and construction. So that's a little more fun than something that is really for a plan. And then the last bit of news is we just were formally announced today that we received a grant from Mass Development to support me and the Foxborough Housing Authority with the Walnut Street project. As you know, we've had some trouble getting that off the ground. We recently completed or are about to finish the Housing Choice Grant, which designed the infrastructure, the sewer and the signal up at the Walnut Street light and 140 light there. And well, there is no light. We're hoping there will be one someday. So that's finishing up. We actually are having a little bit of an issue. I don't know if Rob brought this up, but my understanding is that they want us to look at designing a roundabout up at that area because of the off-ramp from 95 is so close to the Walnut Street crossroad there that they're not sure that a signal could work. And apparently the standard protocol now is for every intersection to be evaluated for a roundabout. So that's a layer of, we didn't expect. We got through District 5 and that came down from Boston later. So it's just been, because as you know, we've been working on this for over a year. So we're keeping on. We talked to our state rep and we're keeping on the good fight. We went through this a little bit with the roundabout over at Forbes Crossing. It's a process, but we are fundamentally through the design phase over there. We were really just trying to get their sign off and we adjust to their comments. But anyway, the good news is we've got some technical assistance to help us get that project underway. It's a lot more complicated than you can really imagine, where you have to go through a whole RFP process and choose a developer, and just there's a whole lot of red tape to do it. So this way we're going to have someone who knows what they're doing advise us. So I look forward to working with the Housing Authority on that. So that's kind of our updates on grants.
Great.
I think did Bill give an update last night? Bill Keegan give an update on grants in the town?
Yeah, I didn't want to chime in, but I have to say, Paige, phenomenal job. When, as part of Bill's goals, he had to go and look at all the grants, and when he put it together, it was over $6 million. So, congratulations to you and the other department heads that were able to, get us that extra money that has been able to really make some impacts in the community. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I have to say that Foxborough is unique. I've always talked about being in Rentham, and Rentham's an awesome community, but they didn't necessarily have their funding setup wasn't in a way where the town could put any skin in a game. And sometimes, we might only put like $5,000 in for a grant, but we get a $50,000 project out of it or so on. And so Foxborough really does a great job leveraging their resources to maximize it. It's pretty incredible. And so I feel very lucky to work here and work on this, because it feels like you have a few tools in your tool belt. A lot of times you need those to really play the game. And we've been having some really great luck. So thank you guys for the support on that, because it is a community effort.
Thanks, Paige.
Leah, on the theme of improvements, I have to say one of the biggest improvements I've seen in the town has been the railroad crossings, but I've not seen any article in the Reporter about it.
I feel like I saw one, I can't remember exactly when, maybe the Cohasset Street one. Am I remembering any other Foxborough Reporter subscribers?
Yeah, I
Agree?
think there was something, was it the one by Cumberland Farms? So there was a picture of the guys working on it and so.
Yeah,
Yep, there was. The
Right,
Cumberland.
but there wasn't anything after it was finished, because I have to say that I don't need to take my car in for steering alignment anymore.
it's
I know.
amazing.
You don't have to slow down anymore.
It's a good suggestion though, John. We should tell him to do a success story on that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
they
is a
should.
good idea.
It's a phenomenal difference, that is.
Even if it was a little disruption, I'm sure to some of your employees for a day or two there, it was well worth it.
Oh, nice. It was amazing. I just wish we'd done it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we should have the reporter do something afterwards, commenting upon the success of it.
Good idea. I'll pass that along.
Okay, next item we have is follow-up to the 5G meeting that Mike Stanton led. Mike, are you on the line? No. Okay. So we'll bring that back to our next meeting then. All right. Possible speaker to future EDC meeting. Any suggestions?
I had one that, I had one that Keith and I kind of talked about, and actually Catherine probably would know much more than me, but I thought maybe we could reach out to our Chamber of Commerce and see if they had somebody who was a member that was involved in economic development that maybe could come in just for, a short period of time, 10 or 15 minutes, and give us some ideas of maybe things that the chamber is doing or that other communities are doing that aid with economic development, just to see if there's something we haven't thought of. That was all I could think of.
Heather, I did go out to their site and looked, and they have like a social media trends that they do that I know it's, so many of our businesses had talked about, help with social media. So it could be helpful even for us, how to promote, certain things. It's just something that jumped out at me when I looked at the Tri-Town Chamber, but I'm sure Catherine has some great ideas, not to put her on the spot.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, the other thing too, I'd suggest, the Paige mentioned the mass development grant. I think maybe they have regional representatives assigned to different portions of the state, maybe having them in and talking about maybe the resources that they make available to any municipality really on a competitive basis. That might be helpful just to give us an overview, because obviously they're a great partner. There are other agencies comparable that we could perhaps request a speaker just to talk about the wealth of resources that they offer to us, if anything's a fit.
I think that's a great idea. In fact, I think I've met one of them at the Tri-Town meeting, so Tri-Town Chamber meeting. So they probably love to come out and talk to a local group, because they're looking for opportunities to connect as well.
Right.
Any other suggestions? Okay, those are great. We'll follow up on those. Thank you. Okay. Last item is the master business list and how members can assist in finalizing that. Paige, did you put this on the?
Yes, so that's something Heather had kind of worked on a bit, and then I have it as well. I had a employee who had to be on quarantine but was working from home, so she actually was able to do. So the crux of it is we have a list Has about 700 businesses on it. And we have it divided geographically, but right now that's like 670 businesses are on the all business list. And we've done 100. And we basically have the address, and we're checking to make sure they're still in business. You'd be amazed at, how many we have on the list that aren't in business. And if you send a mailer out, it gets returned. So it's phone numbers, emails, if you have it, a website, that type of thing. So it's been really slow to do it. I thought, she might have more time to work on it again, but it's kind of, she does cover 3 boards. So she has a lot going on. So the time has been a little harder to squeeze it in. So I didn't know if anybody had any interest in taking a chunk of the list and wanted to plug away. Really, it's just on Google mostly that you do it, but that was it. Heather, did you have, I know you kind of were thinking of something. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, so pretty much that list that we have, although now it's probably a couple years old, it started with, if you go to the Secretary of State's office and you just Google Foxborough, it gives you a list of every Foxborough business that they have. In addition, you can get some of the lists from Town Hall. You can't get all of the information, but so we kind of cross-checked and made sure that our list included the list from the Secretary of State's office and all the lists we could get from various Town Hall departments. But that just gives us names and addresses. So what we were really hoping to do was try to get email addresses, because in this day and age, that's kind of the easiest way to get information out to people quick. So I know Leah's been doing it, and Paige and myself and whoever else we can rope in. You kind of sit down and take 5 or 10 at a time, and you just either Google them or call them, or before COVID, I would go in and say hi and just get an email. So, if anybody is willing to kind of do the legwork, unless businesses have closed, the list is fairly accurate in terms of the names, but it's really the emails that we're trying to fill in. Wouldn't you say, Leah?
Yeah, and I think, there's probably some available like in the town clerk's office from business certificates, or, anyone that has like a common vic license or other things. But I found the best luck to just like go to their Facebook page. Most companies have a Facebook page or a website, and then contact us, just a little bit of detective work. And if that didn't work, just picking up the phone and calling them.
Okay. So maybe if anyone is able to help out with that project, we could just email Heather directly, and Heather, you could send out chunks of that list. Would that work?
Yep, that would be perfect.
Heather, you can send me a few things.
Yeah, and Heather, we have some bandwidth too, so send us a chunk too, and we'll do some background.
Okay, that'd be great. We just found, especially when COVID hit, that we really had no way to reach out to all these businesses. We had this list, but we had no way to reach them. So we just thought if we could get one master list, it can be sorted by types of businesses, location, whatever, and it just really allows us to out and pass on information much more efficiently. So I'll work with Paige and we'll get that out to people. Thank you, everybody.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Any other items anyone wants to bring up? Paige, did the group know about the fire station?
Oh, no, so I should announce that, the exciting news. I did tell everybody, I think, but just to formally announce that our understanding that the fire station special permit appeal has been settled, and a dismissal has been filed with the court, and so we are excited to know. I have a recent update where it's obviously a little slower than we all want, but we hope to close sometime this spring, like April. And then it will take a year, apparently, well, they always say the longest, but they hope to open in the spring of 2022 with Shoveltown. So I wanted it sooner, but I guess
We've waited 10 years. What's another one?
I know. So that's exciting news, and we're hopeful that we're excited that Shoveltown is still interested. They definitely are still committed. And the developer who hasn't yet purchased the process, now we can go through with the sale of the fire station. That was held up due to the appeal. So now we have to go through, selling of it. I'm also working on the legalities around this swap that town meeting approved for 15 to 17 Market Street and 17 Centennial, that those two properties are being swapped from the town to the housing authority. And as part of this fire station development, we're getting 14 parking spaces at the site of the old housing authority project next to Judy's Flowers. So that will, all of this will start to come together. So it's exciting news for Uptown. And just at the nick of time when we'll start to all be able to go out again and, do springtime outdoor dining at Shoveltown.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, very good news page.
Thank you. And one thing that we did, I'm attending a training on an open meeting law in January, but I was reminded today, or not reminded, told today that for all remote meetings, every action needs to be taken through a roll call vote. I'm sorry, I didn't think to say that earlier, but apparently, it's very important that when you're doing this open meeting law through Zoom, that certain protocols are followed. And in order to keep the integrity of votes and whatnot, all votes have to be done by roll call vote. So just for future reference, I think I'm taking the class sometime in the first or second week of January, so I'll know more, but that was the message passed along to me today.
You might want to go back and do those meeting minutes again, Lorraine, just for.
Good point.
Yeah, I have the notes actually of who voted what, so.
I still think you have to do the roll call though. That's what came out last night at our meeting.
Okay.
And by roll call, that just means you say your name. For everyone who may not know, who's a voting member, you say your name and then you say yes or no.
Okay. Any other items?
Do we need to do that, Leah? Do we need to do that to approve the minutes? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we do. And to close the meeting as well.
Okay. All right, so then why don't we go back to, I'll go through the list of names and you can give me your votes on the meeting minutes for today. John Eva,
Yes, approved.
Leah,
I'm not voting.
never mind. Heather,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Tom Murphy,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
and I'm yes. And I have as absent Mike Saig, Mike Stanton, and Kurt Yagan and John Gray. Okay. All right, so are we ready to adjourn? We'll do the same.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay.
Ken?
Okay. John Eva,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Enjoy,
Good night.
Thank you.